think that question is contextual, depending on the person, depending on the business that you're doing. To most people, so you hear a lot of people say the hardest thing about starting a business, they say it's funds and everything. But for me, at the time I started, it wasn't particularly a question of funds. It was much more of a question of know-how, expertise. As at the point that I started, it was just something I was doing out of love, and turned out into a business, and I grew it out of there. So for me, at that point in time, it was much more of the expertise and know-how, because I had quite a lot of people who wanted you to do something that sincerely, at the point in time, I don't think I really had the kind of expertise that I have now to do that. Pretty interesting. I actually started what I'm doing today way back 12, 13 years ago, then still as an undergraduate in school. Knowing that I needed the sort of technical expertise that was required for what I actually wanted to do. For me, overcoming that basically was, first, the realization was there that I knew that I needed to know more. I needed to know how to do this thing proper, because it was something that required a lot of professionalism. So I was basically living a life of being, today I'm a student, tomorrow I'm not a student. So I was literally learning on the job while making money out of it at the same time. I don't think there was any sort of investment in what I was doing in the last 12 years up till sometime recently. And that's the only reason that happened, was because there were some things we needed to do which was beyond our capacity, and we needed not necessarily the money. The funds were part of it also, but some of the other responsibilities that come with someone being a part of that process was also part of the reasons we went out. So for like a period of 10 years plus, we basically built the business by itself organically and everything. So we're basically making profits, put it into the business to grow the business. Truth be told, there wasn't any sort of percentage to say, okay, I've made this amount of money, I'm putting this specific percentage back into the business. It was basically based on needs. The needs that were on the ground at the time as they arose. We try to solve the problems as we go. We have the cash, we have the resources, we do. And sincerely speaking, some of what I'm saying now, I'm able to talk out of hindsight, because some of the things I know now, maybe if I'd known them 10 years ago, I think I would have done some things differently. So for example, now I could tell you that, okay, I could put aside this specific amount, this specific percentage in terms of structured planning to the entire process. Now I could say that. But maybe back then, I don't think I could have said that. This is a company that was started from a university campus in the hostels. It was started from there, and we grew it from there all the way through. So it's been a period of learning. So it's not a question of if I have any failure stories. It's a question of how many. The interesting thing is that through the failures, we've had to learn. In fact, I would say the failures have been like an MBA for me. There are a lot of things that I've learned. We actually didn't start this company with the name Arden and Newton. There was a different name we were operating with. But as I grew in the industry and understood properly the role of branding and thorough brand management in terms of running a business, I decided that, look, I can't be practicing trying to do this for people without having to first do it for myself. We got involved in a creative process where we started breaking apart the different keywords in our company philosophy, where we said we want to build a company passionate about ideas and how ideas can transform people, places, and products. At a certain point in my work journey, I was exposed to a lot of journalists, a lot of publications, a lot of platforms, because our work literally interfaced what we are doing, both locally and internationally. I started asking myself, why can't we have Africa's own version of The Economist here? Why can't we have Africa's version of Bloomberg? Why can't we have Africa's version of The Atlantic? All of these publications inspired me a whole lot. So in early 2014, we started doing a research on media in Africa. So basically, we have resources on ground here in Nigeria. We have support resources in places like Kenya, in South Africa, and all of that. So most times you would see us on ground in Kenya or any of the East Africa, especially East Africa. Most of the international events that come to Africa, we usually cover those events. TheNerve Africa has been a fantastic journey, very challenging. It's actually been a lot more challenging than the parent company. So when you asked the question about failures, that's where most of the failures have been. So one moment you're high up there, the next moment you're down, and then you just have to do all of the work needed to get back up. I think the most interesting thing in our growth trajectory, trying to build TheNerve, has been partnerships. We've invested the most in partnerships. At the point we started out with a content licensing partnership with Bloomberg and Reuters. Part of the reasons that we did that was because we felt we wanted to build something global, we wanted to build something international, and one of the ways to leverage expertise was to stand on the shoulders of people who they've done this for decades. So it was just a wise decision for us to move in that direction. Beyond that, also we've had a lot of local partnerships around here. 8 months down the line, after we started the publication, we decided to launch the second vertical, which was TheNerve Africa events, and we hosted what was one of the biggest business conferences here in Lagos in 2016. And the success of that basically happened through partnerships. So for the magnitude of what we are trying to do, we didn't have that sort of resources to be able to do that. So we needed all of the partnerships to get that done, and that happened. Now this year we are launching the third vertical, which is the TheNerve Africa Films, where we are basically going across the continent to shoot documentaries focused on the corporate audience that we particularly target. And that's particularly happening right now. We've not spent 10% of what we expected that we would have spent because of partnerships. We've shot a series on a business travel series on Abuja. Next month we are going to Ethiopia. From Ethiopia we are going to Kenya before we come back to Nigeria and do an edition on Lagos. And I can tell you that whatever amount you think of what we would have spent, we've spent maybe less than 2% of that, because we've basically leveraged partnerships. And relationships get broken and all of that. For me, I'm very strategic about the sort of relationships that I get into. And even when things go bad, I think that we can solve a problem, move on, and relationships still exist, because we would always need ourselves outside the particular crisis that happened now. So I'm always very careful in how I manage crisis, how I navigate these problems. And even when things happen, I always find time to try to go back, reach out to people and sort out things amicably and just move on. Think as big as you want to think, but concentrate on the now. Now is actually quite important. I hear people say they are building for the future. For me, I think the future is an outcome of the now. So I'm always quite conscious and quite intentional about the now than focusing so much on the future.